It is 4 in a row for Red Bull. Bernie Eccleston is going to come to the small screen. What should Valtteri Bottas do? And there is most probably one of the most important meetings in the history of Formula One taking place this coming Saturday for the Austrian Grand Prix. It's a very good evening and welcome to the F1 PitBox. This is the F1 PitBox with Sasha Martinengo and Gary Famato. It is a very good evening. Welcome to the F1 PitBox. Can you believe it? Third show in a row, Gary. Third race in a row. Triple header. We've got a couple more this season. And in a way, it's like next week, what the heck are we going to do?
Yeah, who would have thought you'd need a break from Formula One? You know, after what's happened. It's been great.
It has been fantastic. We've got a lot to get through during the course of this evening. Thanks very much for joining us. We've got lots of people already saying hello on the feed. So keep it coming in as well. And as the same as last week, so many people joining our WhatsApp group, Gary.
Yeah,
which is very, very exciting.
Yeah.
You know, we get lots of banter.
Yeah.
We try and keep it as tidy as possible as well. So if you want to join us on our WhatsApp group, we will give you those details. Well, actually, there we go. It is up on the screen. All you have to do is send a message and basically say you want to join the F1 PitBox group and give us your name. And of course, we add it on to you, and then you get all of the updates on the world of Formula One. Hello from Nathan, who's all the way in Cape Town. Eitan Mohammed, Sabaki, Ryan, getting in touch. Roland, Zach. Nice to have you. Zach is Greek, so is Savaki, Tikanis, all of those kind of things. Buongiorno. Gary, I'm a little bit on edge because Italy are playing against Belgium tomorrow night in the Euro. And tomorrow I'm confused because I don't know if I must wear my Alfa Romeo shirt, my Ferrari shirt, or my Italian shirt.
Just go with the Italian shirt.
Go with the Italian.
Covers all the angles.
There we go. Well, that's what we'll do. Now, the news. Wow. Perhaps one of the most important meetings in Formula One in many, many years, Gary. We had the big meeting where the engine specifications were changed, and that was in 2011. It came out in 2014, and for 7 years, everyone has been moaning about how they went about those rule changes. Yes, we all struggled with the noise initially, but unfortunately, when they put those rules in place, it just limited and restricted everybody from being competitive and making it more of a level playing field.
Yeah, look, I mean, this era, you know, remember that Renault was the engine to have in the back of the Red Bull. It was supposed to be what was going to happen in the turbo era. It never happened like it. Mercedes-Benz got the jump on everybody, and that is really the end of that.
Yeah,
until now.
That's exactly what happened. However, this coming Saturday is a meeting between the heads, and we'll show you who they are. And they're going to discuss the engine specification and rules from 2025. Those are the gentlemen. There are 9 of them. And the wonderful thing to see here is, besides Ferrari, Gary, Mercedes, Renault, okay, and Red Bull, we also have members from Audi and from Porsche who are attending the meeting. And of course, it's going to be chaired by Jean Todt. You got Stefano Domenicali, who's the boss of Formula One. You got Ross Brawn, and then you got the big hitters, John Elkann from Stellantis, Dieter Mateschitz. They are all there this weekend. Luca De Meo from Renault. We've got Marcus Duesman from Audi and Oliver Bluren from Porsche. The thing is, Gary, how do they go forward from 2025? I mean, from 2022 to 2024, we're basically going to have the same engines that we've got now.
Yeah.
Okay. but it is going to be slightly different. We don't have the MGUH component, and there are a lot more standardized parts in order for cost cutting. So we're hoping from next year, besides all of the aerodynamic change, engine, hopefully everyone's going to be sort of level.
Let's hope so. That's kind of where we left off at the end of the normally aspirated era. Everybody was sort of level, and we had Red Bull and Newey doing their thing. And that was the car.
That was the difference.
But I think it's been a very costly exercise the last couple of years. There's no doubt about it. And if you're a small team or wanting to get into F1, it's next to impossible to run a car with these kind of engines. It's been very expensive. But going forward, I don't believe we're going to see. I think for sure you can say we're not going to see normally aspirated engines anymore.
No,
I mean that's a guarantee.
So sorry, Colin. He says 5 litre V12s.
Yeah. So, listen, it would be great, and I think all of us from a from an absolute purist point of view, you want to hear car. But you know what? I think that they will bear that in mind. Having said that, in making this decision, I think they did learn a lot in terms of you've got to have crowds, you've got to have the people buying into it. And the last thing you want is drivers speaking negative about whatever implementation or iteration it's going to be. We had a lot of that in the beginning with this new turbo cars. The drivers were unhappy. It's been I think a bit of a tough time actually.
Listen, for us as broadcasters, it was also very this is a slightly different platform. But when we were actually on TV, and there you are having to try and defend something, and I remember going to Hungary in 2014 and listening to them. I remember phoning you and going, Gary, I'm actually standing right at the pits. I don't even have headphones on, and I can talk to you with these cars going. And I was like so frustrated.
Well, let's hope that they can get some of that right. And I think it is going to be. I mean, Ross Brawn understands it. I mean, he understands Formula One. You've got Domenicali there. I think it's the right people. You've got Matsushitz is there. He's going to probably be the guy that's going to be punting, as far as he can for exciting engines. But bearing in mind they own a massive engine department now as well. So it's going to be, I think, definitely representative of where the motor industry is going and what's happening. That's for sure. Just how they sort of get to that. And look, to be honest, I don't know if any of us really know, apart from electric, where is everything actually going?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm just having a little chat with to Fritz because I'm having problems hearing him at the moment. But I mean, this is a crucial meeting. We all believe, I think, that everyone is going to be on the right kind of playing field going forward, because I think, as you've quite rightly said, there were mistakes made, especially in the implementation of the restriction of what happened. I think that was a big issue.
Yeah, just to highlight that, I suppose you could say, look at Honda. Honda came in; it was very difficult, and it's taken them up until now to get going, because you couldn't just go hell for leather and what have you. It didn't work out like that. I mean, everybody else actually. I've only started to catch Mercedes-Benz now, if you really think about it, for this entire era.
Just about at the end of it.
Exactly. That's how long it takes. You've got to give people a chance to get themselves up to speed
and also at what cost?
Well, that's
what did Honda have to spend? I mean, that those terrible years with McLaren, which they were just trying to get up there, and they just entered. So I mean, very, very tough. So kudos to Honda for what they've actually done. Do not even mention the word, the E word. Andrew Ambrosioni, watching us all the way from Lake Garda. Hey, how's it? Tough life, eh? Oh, nice to have you along. We won't mention the E word, although they will have E's in terms of battery power. Now, here's something that's quite interesting. I think there's a little bit of dissension in the ranks, Gary, at Mercedes-Benz. Now, I'm one who always sits and thinks of Toto Wolff, and I have a massive, massive respect for him. He's done a phenomenal job. But there are too many times that words come out of his mouth that I just cannot believe.
Exactly.
I just cannot believe it. And, Red Bull are this, and that's a much better team, and Ferrari are right up there. And then all of a sudden they come and wipe the slate clean. Now, over the last couple of weeks, the last four races, Red Bull have won. And Toto Wolff's had a lot to say about this. They've spoken about the rear wings. Now they say they've got these massive engine upgrades that are happening with Red Bull. And when Toto Wolff was asked after the Styrian Grand Prix, well, what has Mercedes got in store? Do we have some update package, error updates, and maybe engine performance enhancements coming? Toto Wolff said no. All of a sudden, James Allison who's actually also stepped back a little bit in Mercedes, come out and says, no, we do have aerodynamic bits that are coming, and perhaps some engine enhancement coming as well. I haven't seen that before at Mercedes.
No, it's been quite clear. Look, there's two issues here. First of all, I do believe that they are going to bring some updates and what have you.
Plenty.
And I think he might have just blown Toto's cover and goes back to what you were saying in the beginning about believing what he says. But at the end of the day, Toto's the boss as well.
Yeah.
So, maybe you've got to play the game there. But yeah, you can't see them not taking this fight to Red Bull this year.
Of course not. I mean, anybody would sit there and go, oh no, we're just focusing on 20. They want to end this era saying, we won every single year.
Yeah,
that's exactly what.
There's no doubt. And the team's proven that. Wolf and the rest of the team have proven that. They're here to win Grand Prix.
Yeah, of course. Lots of people coming in. Nikki says, do not believe there won't be any developments for this year's car and only focus on. You're right, Nikki. There's definitely going to be some new stuff coming along. Now, this is very, very exciting. Bernie Eccleston, who's 90 years, is he 90 or 90? He's 90 plus. Yeah. He's coming to the small screen. There he is. I have the utmost respect for Bernie Eccleston. I think he's a fabulous man. Now, the producers of the Senna movie, have been filming with Bernard Charles Eccleston during the COVID in Switzerland. And I'm fascinated to see what they're going to do, whether or not it's going to be some kind of a Netflix series, or whether or not it's actually going to be some kind of a movie. But I must say, the Senna movie, and I've watched it multiple times, but I've watched many videos on Ayrton Senna, and there's been a lot that have been made. It was good, and there were times that it was great, Gary, but I don't know if it was magnificent.
Yeah, I have to. I've got to agree.
I don't know.
But you know what? What was magnificent? What is magnificent is Drive to Survive, and you've talked about the Netflix thing there. So I think the bar has certainly been changed, and listen, you've got such a great story to tell in Bernie Eccleston, over the years and where he came from and what he was able to do. So let's hope they tell it fittingly.
100%. And if you do have the chance, Professor Sid Watkins, the late Professor Sid Watkins' wife, Sue Watkins, wrote a book on Eccleston. I've got quite a few of them as well. They are worth reading. Number one, he's got an incredible sense of humor. He calls a spade, and that's how he's operated. Yeah. So I'm really glad that they're making something on it. A lot of people also have asked about the Michael Schumacher documentary that was meant to be released already quite a while ago. We don't have anything new to report on that as well. Now, sprint racing, and if we look back at Baku, maybe they should make sprint races like 3 laps, not half
like
a race.
Speedway type
like a speedway kind of thing. Yeah. The first sprint race is going to be coming up in the British Grand Prix on the Saturday. Gary, what we were told is that on a Friday, the guys would go out to have a free practice, and then they'd go out and do a qualifying for the sprint race. And then they said that qualifying would also be the qualifying for the main race on the Sunday. But all of a sudden, they've changed it. Now, the person who wins the sprint race on the Saturday will get polled. And I'm assuming, because I couldn't find out any more information, but I'm assuming that the rest of the grid will line up the way that they finished the sprint race.
It would certainly have to be the case. I mean, it's the most obvious thing. But I think what's going to be interesting now is now obviously your practice is cut down. You're into another race instead of pre-practice and a quali type deal on a Saturday. So I think it's going to change the strategy up for the weekend quite tremendously. And of course, you've got the other things about people knocking each other off and knocking themselves to the back of the grid for the Sunday race, for the main event, or whatever it may be. So we're going into uncharted water now.
Yeah.
And we'll see how everybody handles it and where it all goes. And I think you'll see, if you've got a team, for example, that's maybe knows they're not outright quick, then start working in that sprint race towards a serious race setup for the Sunday. Who knows what we're going to get? But I mean, it's going to be an interesting weekend.
I think it is going to be exciting. But I do bring up, we did speak about it when they first announced the sprint races. The only thing that concerns me is you go into a sprint race and all of a sudden you destroy a car. Okay, yes, you do have quite a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's the cost.
Yeah.
And when it comes to these cost caps, how are the FI really going to manage this? You break a front wing, it's 150,000 pounds. You lose you have to change a gearbox, it's £500,000. All of a sudden, one of your drivers crashes in free practice on a Friday. They crash in pole in qualifying. They have a sprint race, two of the cars go out. All of a sudden, halfway through the season, you go, sorry, can't go racing, budget cap.
Listen, I think it's a worthwhile exercise.
I
definitely think it's a worthwhile exercise. And you're going to the best way to learn is on the job. And let them run the weekend, see what happens. That's obviously going to create a lot more excitement on a Friday. It's going to make Saturday a hell of a day to be involved. And they're getting back to full capacity with crowds, etc. So that's all starting to work out for them. You're going to make a Grand Prix weekend a really a solid weekend of action, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun as well. All right, coming up, we've got some great trivia. We're going to talk about Lando Norris, George Russell. Oh no, wait, I nearly gave away the trivia answer. We can't do that. Lando, we're going to talk about George. We're going to talk about Verstappen. We're going to talk about Perez, Danny Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, and also what's his name? Mazepin. We're going to talk about Nikita Mazepin as well. So stick around. Trivia coming up next. Okay, here is a little bit of trivia today. Now I'm trying to figure out how to word this without giving it away too easily. But perhaps, Gary, one of the greatest displays of respectful driving and flat out driving took place today, 42 years ago. Okay. Try not to Google it. Try and work it out on your own, unless, you're that much younger. Then, of course, go for it. But 42 years ago today, two drivers had an epic battle in France. Okay. So the question is, who were the two drivers and who won the race? Okay. You know it. Yeah. Oh, unbelievable. All right. So use the, post it up on the Facebook or otherwise on the YouTube. Otherwise, also put it into the WhatsApp group as well. And we will go through those answers a little bit later. Whew. Okay. Where are we? Yeah, we are here. Let us look at what happened over this Grand Prix, this past Grand Prix weekend. First of all, the race result in terms of what happened. Max Verstappen, there we go, Lewis Hamilton, and Valtteri Bottas. Gary, 4 in a row, first time in the hybrid era that Mercedes have not won a race out of 4.
Yeah.
People are going, oh, the tide is changing, things are changing. It's just wonderful to see another team being able to challenge Mercedes. And there's a different kind of tension watching.
Yes, there is.
Because you know that one mistake at this stage from either Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen, and that championship turns on its head.
Yeah. But this is what we've been dying to see. Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton in a proper championship fight, and we've got it. I mean, it really is actually a privilege to watch a championship battle like this. You've got two, in my opinion, two of the best drivers out there.
Yeah.
Having it a go. And Red Bull now eventually given Verstappen the kind of car that he needs to do it. And you're quite right. I mean, it just adds a whole lot more. I mean, it's you want to sit down and watch these Grand Prix. You can't sit. You like we did a lot of times. You said, well, make a prediction for the weekend. Oh well.
Well, there we go. Mercedes 1-2.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go.
New ball game now.
And you always knew, with the greatest respect to Valtteri Bottas, but you always knew he was going to play second fiddle, no matter what was going to happen. Lando Norris, this guy Gary is just he must be together, perhaps maybe with a guy like Pierre Gasly. These two must be the hottest property in F1. But let's take Lewis and Max out of the equation. This guy is performing unbelievably. That first lap with Sergio Perez, Perez overtaking him coming back and overtaking Perez, but then the astuteness to realize I'm not in this fight.
Yeah,
let Perez go, let Bottas go, and he said, you know what? I've got my own race to
Yeah.
run. I cannot fight against these two. It's unbelievable. I'm so impressed with number one. He's just as a human being, but his racecraft is phenomenal.
His share price has certainly increased. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Ricciardo's, you'd expect maybe you give him a race or two, but it hasn't been working out for him, And so I think Norris, and I thought about this week as well. If you looked at Carlos Sainz Jr., ran Norris pretty close last year in that McLaren. He didn't need all the time to get going like Ricciardo has, etc., etc. So, and he's also performing for it. I know we're digressing from Norris, but I think Norris is definitely one of the guys out there he's the one in the next superstar.
Well, there we go. He signed a long-term deal with McLaren, and none of us know what these cars are going to be like next year. The engine, power unit, electric power hybrid cars, or power units, we are assuming are going to be basically on a level. The big question is the aerodynamics. And how it changes, and is it another Adrian Newey who just sort of whacks it out of the ballpark? That we have to wait and see. But it does give the chance for a guy like Lando Norris at McLaren. If they build a proper car and they start beating Mercedes, it's going to be a problem.
Oh yes, there's no doubt about that.
Big problem. Now I don't know what George Russell has to do.
Jeez, to get a break.
I mean, this guy last year jumps into the Mercedes. I mean, just about outqualifies Bottas. Outraces him. Car doesn't work. Eventually, lands up scoring some points, but it didn't really matter. But this weekend, he qualified on merit. Yes, he was just outside the top 10, but got promoted. He was in the top 10, Gary. He was lying in 8th. He was going at race pace the same as everyone around him. On merit, he should have finished in 8th place. And he should have scored points, and he deserved to score the points. And all of a sudden, the car lets him down.
Again. Listen, that is unfortunately just racing. I mean, but you do feel for the guy. But I think once again, showing that he's the talent. The big thing this weekend for me is looking at the difference between Latifi and him. And he just seems to have, when the cars were bad last year, they kind of like sometimes were, but this time, I mean, he would just stepped it up and went away. So whatever's going on there certainly suits Russell, and he's got something he can work with. Latifi hasn't been able to raise his game and bring that car further up the field like Russell has.
And see, again, if you look at teams like Williams, you look at teams like Haas, who aren't doing a lot of development, waiting for 2022 with budget caps. Roughly everyone's sort of on a level playing field. You got to believe, with the expertise that Williams still has within that organization, that they're not going to be where they are now in 2022. So still not a bad option to go there, but you've got to believe George Russell cannot stay there.
No,
end of story.
Listen, he's got to be in the Mercedes-Benz next year. That's really where it's about. And, if a guy like Perez keeps on putting Bottas under pressure and taking points from Bottas, it's almost guaranteed that he's not going to have that seat next year.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now we're going to get to Bottas. Now, here's also something a little bit peculiar. Valtteri Bottas this weekend had a spin in the pit lane. Got there we go. Got 2 points deducted on his license and a 3-place grid penalty. Does the penalty fit the crime? The irony of this is, Gary, that Mercedes have been complaining that the pit stops are too dangerous purely because nobody can do a pit stop as quick as Red Bull. And then all of a sudden they try and do something in a pit stop, and then they go and spin their car. Yes, in a race condition, it could have been massively dangerous. I mean, don't forget, even just as those cars pull off, they're already at 60 k's an hour. That thing spins and hits a whole bunch of McLaren mechanics. But I mean, it's desperately unfortunate.
No, look, I know this.
Why does he get penalty points?
Exactly. No, look, I mean, it's just who knows? You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is, and it's a big safety thing. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But with the rules, you can't. Even though there's nobody in the pit lane, it was in free practice. Car still spun. What can you do?
Yeah, going back to
keep
this,
it standard. Keep it.
I know, but also a little common sense. Like all of a sudden now you got to watch out that your pit stops are too fast.
Yeah.
I just I don't get that.
Who's
as
moaning
well.
about the pit stops? Who's that? What's his name?
Yeah,
Yeah, that guy.
Toto,
That guy.
that guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bottas, you got to. We all believe the smart money is George Russell's going to go to Mercedes Benz, and Bottas is in no man's land. Going back, maybe not a bad idea to go back to Williams.
No, not at all.
As long as they can find some money to pay. He's not going to get paid the same kind of money that he's getting paid at Mercedes-Benz. But with a slightly different playing field next year, he still deserves to be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I think so. Look, Bottas is a very experienced Formula One driver, and he's got value. I mean, he's worked in Mercedes-Benz now for the last couple of years. He knows a lot. I mean, you've been with a World Championship winning team for a number of years now.
I think it's 5 years.
Yeah.
Nearly.
So now to take that value to a team like Williams, they could benefit from that experience and just from what Terry's learned at Williams. So not a bad, and the car's quick. Russell's proving it. I mean, it's a quick enough car now, surely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that trivia quick one again is 42 years ago today, two drivers had a titanic and brilliant dice in the last couple of laps at the Grand Prix in Dijon. Who were the two drivers and who won the race? Okay, we'll give you that answer right after this.
This is Formula One.
All right, cool. We would love to play you the video. We honestly would love to play you the video because if you've never ever seen it, it's just you just sit and go, I can't believe that they never took each other off, and how much respect they had for each other, Gary.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a battle that, I mean, as a kid growing up, you watched that battle and you just rewound the VHS tape or whatever you had it on and watched it again, and it was amazing stuff, and for a good couple of laps,
Yeah, I mean, you just got hooked in it. Okay, I think quite a few people have come through. I can't go through. There's lots and lots coming through here, but we've got Nikki's one I can see. Clive Delaney in Hampshire. There we go. Nice to have you along. He got that right as well. No, it wasn't Sterling Moss. Okay. The answer is, it was Gilles Villeneuve and René Arnoux, the Renault against the Ferrari, racing against each other. We've got a couple of images just to show. I mean, these two were just at it. You've got to watch the video. And the wonderful thing is, if you are part of our Formula One WhatsApp group, we're going to post the YouTube link for you to go and watch some of the most spectacular. I mean, it must have been one of the moments that got me completely hooked onto the world of Formula One. I mean, these images, I mean, look at them. They're sideways.
Well, that's why you wanted to go racing as a kid. When you watch that stuff, you're like, geez, I want this race.
This is what I want to do. Coming down the straight, locking his brakes up to get past Arnoux and the way it finished. Anyway, the amazing thing is, they were actually fighting for second.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They were fighting for second. Way up the road was the other Renault of Jean-Pierre Jabouille, who went on to win. Yeah. But we're posting the YouTube link, onto the PitBox WhatsApp group, and you can go and check that out as well. Let's get back into the Styrian Grand Prix. Guy that I want to talk about here, Gary, is Sergio Perez. Another great performance from him. Had that little bit of an issue with Lando, but eventually got past him. But as opposed to the French Grand Prix, where the four of them, in a way, you could say Bottas, until Bottas had his issues, but the two Mercs and the two Red Bulls were relatively close with each other. Here we saw quite a gap between Max, Lewis, and then Valtteri and Perez, which just showed us something.
Well, I remember. I think we were sitting here in our studio, our bar, and I thought about it. Lewis Hamilton. I don't think we'd seen the best of him. Yeah. And I think when now the Red Bull and Max are taking this, but I think he's Bottas in the dust.
Oh.
He's fighting for the front now.
Correct.
And Bottas, unfortunately, on his day, maybe going to have one or two good ones, but I think overall now, Hamilton and the gap is grown. But Perez, on the other hand, I mean, is doing, for me, a fantastic job.
Brilliant.
It's exactly what you need of a driver that's going to be your, I hate to use the term number 2 driver, but let's be honest, that's what he really is. But I think he's also accepted the fact that he is a number 2 driver. And I always go back to Eddie Irvine with Michael Schumacher. And he said something. He said, "Well, I'm the best number 2 driver in the world."
Yeah.
And that was like the best he was going to do.
He knew it.
He knew it, and he played the game, and he made a fortune of money, and
he nearly won a championship.
Exactly. and I think Perez has sort of got that kind of thing, and playing to all of his strengths. On his day, he's going to win a Grand Prix. He's proven that already.
Sure.
But more importantly, take points and keep pressure on the other Mercedes-Benz.
Okay. 2 things. Bottas did out-qualify Lewis, but unfortunately had to drop back. And we know Bottas seems to be a very, strangely enough, for a Finn, very emotional. He takes these things, now all of a sudden he's now behind Lewis again, yet he beat him and he didn't make it happen. The other question I want to talk about, Sergio Perez. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. Really, really, really phenomenal job. But now where does this leave Red Bull? Because next year's new rules, nobody knows what's really going to happen. Will they need a Perez? Do they throw an Albon back in there?
Sure.
If you look at what's happened, Kvyat, Gasly, Albon, Perez, it's a no-brainer. You just go sign here, Mr. Perez.
It is a no-brainer, and in my opinion, you'd be absolutely mad to put one of those. The problem with Gasly, for example, was that he went there, he looked at Max and thought, I'm the young guy. I'm going to take this fight to Max. Wrong move.
Yeah.
It was never going to happen. And he killed himself in the process. And, now he's actually doing quite fine in AlphaTauri because it's a little bit more, he's the king there. To put Albon back, there's no ways.
Yeah.
I mean, so Perez, it's got to be. It's just, you'd be, if he continues the way he's going and taking points and winning the odd Grand Prix, you don't want anybody else there.
You sit there and think, what does Red Bull do? They've got Alex Albon. They still believe in him. They still want him to do something in Formula One. Tsunoda, with the Honda connection going forward, you got to believe he's going to be there for a bit.
Until the Honda money recedes.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then Gasly, you're also going, well, where are the seats? He most probably deserves a better seat than AlphaTauri at the moment. But McLaren's full, although I'll get to McLaren in a second. Renault.
Yeah. Renault, Alpine, Renault, whatever, that's the one that makes sense. And you want to be in with a manufacturer, as a driver.
Course.
I think that's
especially with the new, yeah.
So I think Alpine for Gasly's, we just surmising here and shooting the breeze really, but not bad. It's French team. I mean, there's a lot of things that line up.
Ocon, Alonso, okay.
Yeah.
Now Daniel Ricciardo. I don't think there are many people in the world who don't like Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
He's just, he's a fun guy. And we've seen him race, and he can be incredibly competitive. Gary cannot get to grips with this McLaren, or he's just being totally outplayed and outdriven by Lando Norris. There on the screen, just to show you, in the last 4 races, 12th, 13th, 10th, 13th. Norris points every single race this year, and I think his worst is a 6th.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
There we go. And a P10 is his only point
Yeah,
score.
sorry. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Only one.
I mean, how does he think? What does McLaren sit there and look at someone like Pierre Gasly? They must be looking.
Sure. And I think Ricciardo's a good driver.
Yeah.
A really, really, really good driver. I think the fact of the matter is that Lando Norris is just starting to shine. And I wouldn't really mess with the whole situation there too much, to be honest. Look, Ricciardo's on a 3-year deal, I think he's on.
Yeah, I think
so. I mean, he's there to stay. So build a team around however you've got to build with your 2 drivers and get everyone on the same page and go and try and win races.
Yeah, fair enough. I think 2022 is also, at the back of a lot of people's minds as well. Now, let's get on to the Ferrari drivers, Charles Leclerc specifically. A brilliant drive from the back. but maybe perhaps Gary a little bit over ambitious right at the beginning to have the tangle with Pierre Gasly. Was it necessary? Is Leclerc beginning to feel the Sainz pressure?
You know what? I spoke about Sainz and Norris last year, so I think Sainz has been I mean, when he signed for the team, I thought, well, here we got another Rubens Barrichello, another Eddie Irvine, definitive number 2 driver. He hasn't really
Not
been
at
that
all.
person at all this year. And to be doing it in Ferrari as a youngster, you've got to take your head off. So this guy maybe is something special. I mean, a little bit underrated.
I agree.
In his F1 career to date, although it hasn't been bad. But I mean, nice with the big leagues, if you want to call it that, one of the big teams.
Correct.
And I think doing a wonderful job.
Yeah, I think he's doing an exceptional job, and I think he is putting a little bit of pressure onto Charles Leclerc. And I still think Leclerc is a wonderful,
No doubt,
and super driver. Leclerc got the driver of the day. A little bit of an incident here and there, but driving from the back, yes, it is a track that you can overtake on. But we also saw a lot of cars battling in not so much the dirty air, but with the DRS not being able to pass. So it just shows that the Mercedes the Ferrari did have something for Leclerc to be able to make up that many positions. And they're probably feeling quite excited about this weekend.
Oh, they must be. I mean, they can qualify that car well.
5th and 7th.
Then let's see where they go in the race. But I think your front two, the World Championship protagonists are going to be amazing the guys to beat no matter what. Yeah,
and we'll get to them in a short while. Fernando Alonso, we've sort of touched on him a little bit, but another great race. We expect that from Fernando, but now he's beginning to get the edge of Ocon and that experience in racecraft, Gary. You cannot emphasize that enough. You look at Alonso, and I'm going to mention him as well, not because he's one of my favorites, but Kimi Raikkonen also. Had he not had such a terrible qualifying, Raikkonen would have been in the points. But their racecraft is incredible. Alonso, with a car that's most probably, they say, between 20 and 30 horsepower down on the Ferrari and the Honda and the Mercedes. To get that car into the points and keep it there in the points, you've got to say, great stuff.
Fernando Alonso is doing exactly what you expect Fernando Alonso to do. He's gone out, he's quick, he races well. He can get the job done. He starts well. He makes up positions most of the time at the start. He does a lot, but they signed Ocon for 3 years. So it's just his age is counting against him right now. And I hope he's got enough time because with the kind of performances you see him producing now, he's certainly capable of winning Grand Prix just from a talent and individual.
Correct.
He needs a car.
Put these guys in decent, fast enough cars. We can see exactly what they do. Let's just have a look at the full race result before we talk about Max and Lewis from the Grand Prix weekend to see the point scorers. And of course, we've got Max Verstappen right up there, 3 out of 4 races. Lewis, Bottas, we've spoken about everybody. Yuki Tsunoda, got to say, improving tremendously ever since he moved to Italy. Has done a great.
All the pasta.
All the pasta is definitely helping. Stroll getting in the points. Another solid drive from him. And just proving, you know what? Hey, I'm not daddy's money. I can actually race, and he's doing it week after week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're up against a 4-time world champion who's not that old actually. And doing a great job. So I think this is probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Stroll.
I think it's wonderful. Gasly unfortunately had to retire. Russell was just desperately unlucky. And in a strange way, Mick Schumacher finishing ahead of Latifi. They all had different kinds of problems, but well done. Well done to them. Then, of course, we get Max versus Lewis Hamilton. Gary, this one was won on pace. It wasn't like France with the undercut. This was a clear, straight-out battle. And you just sat there and went, if one of these guys makes one little mistake, the other one is just going to capitalize on it as well. And that's what's so fascinating, that mental concentration.
And, we're watching a different type of racing. And you talk about MotoGP, and I love MotoGP. But it's just, but when you're watching F1 right now, that's really the chess match.
Correct.
Has really come alive. If I've termed it or used the right term.
I understand it.
Okay, but the strategy and the way that what these guys are doing and how they're driving and how they're seeing it, I think is really something to watch. And if you're just a kind of a casual fan, I think spend a bit more time just understanding just exactly what these guys are doing and the strategies that they're playing, whatever you. And you're watching, as I said just now, two of the world's best in two very fast cars now at the pinnacle of the sport. It's quite a privilege.
I'm so glad you said it. It's a massive privilege, and also I also do enjoy the little bit of off-track banter. There's a little slide comment from Max. Then there's one from Lewis. They're playing the game with each other, but I think deep down inside, Gary, they also have a tremendous amount of respect for each other on the racetrack.
I would assume so. But I mean, the kill instinct is strong in both. But I mean, for me, you've also got two very different individuals as well, and I think that's also what adds to the flavor. Right now. You've got these two very different individuals, and so I mean, it's Formula One couldn't have asked for a better deal right now.
It is wonderful, and you go, geez, Max has won the last 3 races. Red Bull have won the last 4 races in a row. You go, oh, what do the points look like? And as I mentioned right at the beginning, one little mistake, one DNF for Lewis. And a win for Max, huge points. One DNF for Max and a win for Lewis, swings and roundabouts. So it's so tight. And this, I mean, if they carry on going like this, I mean, this is going to go right down to Abu Dhabi with a new circuit. Which should be a lot of fun. 18 points. That's all it is. And if you think both of them had DNFs in Baku. So in a way, you sort of negate it.
Listen, but it's still a long way to go. There's a lot of Grand Prix to go, and things can happen. But it's as you said, it's a swing either way.
Listen, a great photo over there. Great to see Helmut Marko up on the podium in Austria as well. He got properly drenched as well. There was one thing that I think I thoroughly enjoyed it, but the FIA definitely didn't enjoy it. And that was at the end of the Grand Prix. As Max went over the line, he slowed down to wave and then did a little bit of a burnout. Okay. And then he left some tire marks, and they got severely reprimanded. He was that lucky, most probably the team didn't get a fine. A lot of people have come out and said, oh, geez, the FIA, next minute they're going to be, asking, do you have the right underwear, or, what sunglasses are you wearing, etc., etc. And the reason why the FIA got very angry about this is because we have had incidents like similar to well, not similar to this before, much worse than this before, where people slow down drastically when you cross the line. It's natural, Gary, as a racing driver, you take the checkered flag, you lift off and you carry on going, but you maintain a relative speed.
Of course.
Okay. But that's what you do. This is a picture of what happened in 2015, same circuit in Austria, where Mary crossed over the line in 11th position. And I think Gary, he just about came to a stop.
He did, if I remember correctly. We can't play the video. We're not allowed to.
We're not allowed to. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not allowed to. But Mary came across the line and basically stopped, said hello, and well done to everybody. And Nicholas Latifi, our Formula One driver, didn't see it and crashed right into the back of him. And it became, fortunately, none of them were seriously injured. But that's why we have to have these precautions and safety measures at time, and there are times, Gary, we just sit there and go, oh my gosh, another rule, the tire pressures, this, that, and whatever. But they are thought out.
Yeah, they are.
Are they?
You can't. These cars are so fast, and it's to be almost stopped on the straight. There could be somebody else that's now racing to line, 100% signs, and you never know. It is dangerous, very, very dangerous.
Okay. This weekend, it is the Austrian Grand Prix, and amazingly, it's at the same circuit as last weekend, and we'll go through what we expect after this. It is the Red Bull Ring RVs, the trains, the cars that are making their way from the Netherlands right now to go to Austria for this weekend's Grand Prix. I expect a sea of orange.
Yeah, sea of orange. Remember, this is Red Bull's home race.
Yeah.
And we don't even speak about it much. That's why we saw Marko
up on the podium.
There. It's a home race for Red Bull. You've got Max Verstappen fans on the way down there. I mean, this is now, Formula One starts to become alive, and what a great time for it to happen as well. Got this battle going on for the championship, people back in there, and it's such a, as you said, a beautiful, beautiful circuit.
No, it's a stunning circus. I mean, this is a picture from actually 2020. It wasn't from last weekend, but as you can see, the stands were empty. This is what we can expect this weekend. Red Bull home race, Max Verstappen on a good charge at the moment. The Dutch are going to come. I mean, can you imagine what Zandvoort is going to be like?
Oh yeah, no, listen, I can't wait for that one either. You know,
I think the commentators are going to have to soundproof their rooms because no one's going to be able to hear what they're saying. Quite extraordinary. So we're going to have great crowds this coming weekend. The next thing is just the circuit layout. I think let's just have a look at it again. Gary, some great overtaking opportunities. The undulations of the circuit are just stunning.
Absolutely amazing. And that photo that we used there just now, it gave you a good indication because we hardly see that on TV. You don't get the same impression. But yes, I mean, where it is just based and just if you look around it, it's just really great circuit.
No, it is very, very special as well. And yes, we do have the DRS detection zones, and that's where we see a lot of the overtaking. But there are other places where overtaking does happen. So, we saw it last week. Stunning Grand Prix. So we can't wait for that as well. This weekend, also slight difference, Gary. Last week we had the Pirelli C2, C3, and C4. This or C2, 4, and 5, something like that. We had the harder of each of the compounds. This weekend we've got the C3, C4, C5, which is the softer of each of the compounds as well. We didn't see massive degradation on the tires. However, on the long runs, if you noticed, especially on a guy like Bottas, his right rear tires seem to be having a little bit of a problem. This, all of a sudden, I think the soft might come into play because it might be significantly quicker than anything else. So we could see varied strategies this weekend. And I'm glad that they've changed.
Absolutely. And again, we're going to the same track, so people want to be a repeat of what happened last weekend. But now with the different tires, as you said, it certainly does add a new element into the race weekend. And if you saw Bottas's tires wearing with a harder tire, perhaps they're going to be even worse on the softer. Who knows? Yeah. But this is it, and this is the one thing about Formula One any racing. you never really know what's going.
That's what we love about it. All these people, it's so predictable, predictable. And the next minute they wake up on a Monday morning and they go, Sergio Perez won a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
They go, what I miss? They go, so predictable. Yeah. Not so much. So we got C3, C4, C5, but will we use them? Last week on the show, you were working, unfortunately. Yeah. I went and said, 80% chance of rain on Sunday, blah, blah, blah. But I did go on to justify it, saying the only job in the world you can have that get wrong every single time and still have a job is being a weather reporter.
Yeah.
But this weekend, the weather says, there we go, rain on Sunday.
Yeah, so C4, C5, C5.
We might not even see them. Exactly. We might just see intermediates and wets, and quite a lot cooler on Sunday than it was temperature-wise. However, it did look similar to last week as well. So tomorrow it says maybe cloudy, Saturday dry, Sunday rain. It could well be pouring tomorrow, sunny on Saturday, and drizzle on Sunday.
So for me now, you've got a Red Bull that runs with slightly less wing, is able to rely on, if you want to say, mechanical grip for the corners. It rains on Sunday. Red Bull, all they need to do is put a little bit more of that wing back on. That car should be super quick in the wet.
Listen, it's going to be fascinating. Whatever happens. Also, of course, you can find out. You can watch from tomorrow. Same times as last week. 11:30 is first free practice. 3 o'clock second free practice. Saturday 12 o'clock is practice 3. Qualifying at 3. Race on Sunday at 3 p.m. And these, of course, are all South African times as well. A lot of people, Gary, always find that that Formula One's very, very serious and too serious. Okay. But I must say, with the Instagram and memes and people like Lando Norris and that and whatever, have lightened things up quite a bit. But I've got to say, I take my hat off to the Haas team and Günther Steiner. Don't forget the first couple of races with Nikita Mazepin. He spun at just about every corner, and everyone, his name was called Mazepin. Well, last weekend at the Red Bull Ring, he called Mazepin into his little office in the motorhome, and he presented him with a gift. And that gift, I'm going to put it up, there we go, was a spinning top to call him Mazepin. But I must say, I've watched the video, and they were both in hysterics. Yeah. Mazepin also took it so brilliantly. Yeah. So it was just wonderful, wonderful to see. So fantastic, fantastic stuff. Well done to Günther Steiner and to the Haas team. Gary, I mean, we don't know weather-wise, but the smart money is it's another Lewis
Max battle. Yeah, I think so too. And I'll hazard and say if it does rain, I think Max would have that hand.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I just can't wait for this weekend. Let's just see if there's anything else. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for your comments. Sounds like a South African weather prediction. Yes, it is. My whole weekend is planned around these times, every race. Nikki, like us as well. Okay, we enjoy that. Listen, thanks for all of the comments that have come through here. If there are any questions, we'll go through them and answer them. Also, if we can pull up there's quite a few people who are coming through on our F1 PitBox line. Fritz, if we can just call up that WhatsApp number one more time. And then there we go. If you want to join the group, it's 738794498. All you have to do is send a hello and what your name is and that you'd like to join the WhatsApp group. We'll add you onto the WhatsApp group with absolute pleasure. As always, we do end the show with the obligatory Alfa Romeo picture for the show. So let's see what Henk has found. Oh, there we go. I think it's a red car. Okay, it's a red car. That's it. Gary, can't wait for tomorrow. Can't wait for Saturday. Can't wait for Sunday.
Exactly. Listen, it's going to be a great one. And Formula One is back.
100%. And Forza Italia tomorrow against the Belgians. Okay, there we go. From Gary and myself, from Fritz and Henk doing all of the hard work. Thanks very much for joining us. Please try and share the video if you can. And we will catch you on the WhatsApp group, or otherwise we'll catch you right here on raceday.tv. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Take care. Let's go racing.
This is the F1 PitBox.